Members of political parties will now be allowed to participate for elections as independent candidates without having to go through the cool-off period. This follows the Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs decision to drop that requirement. The committee says enforcement of that provision was going to be difficult to achieve. For more on this, we're joined by Brandon Pillay from the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs. He joins us now virtually. Mr. Pillay, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Now, firstly, of course, your explanation in terms of how you found it to, this particular part of the bill might have been very difficult to implement if there was this 3-month cooling period that some political parties were calling for.
Firstly, good morning and good morning to all your viewers. At the onset, while the discussions ensued, I think all political parties felt that it was valid to have a 3-month waiting period. However, after much deliberations and also seeking legal opinion, we decided to cede to counsel that we received from the state law advisor that said that, one, it may be difficult to be able to impose a 3-month waiting period. Now, the cooling off period was actually put into the bill just to be able to manage the processes in terms of how individuals may leave a political party and then sort of purge to become an independent candidate. However, the repercussions of that was going to be that the IEC was going to be left with a lot of work in terms of having to now go and look at who had belonged to a political party. And I think that it was going to be tedious, but also too much of work for the IEC. And we didn't want to make the process of elections more complicated for the Independent Electoral Commission.
And, looking at the fact that there was obviously some public engagement coming to the amendment of this bill, etc., have you received, or has the chairperson, Mr. Chabane, at least received the letter from your My Vote Counts, etc., who felt that some of the processes that the whole process of the amendment bill was actually hasty?
Now, let me categorically state that the process of public participation and consultation had already taken place. And any individual, organization or collective that wanted to participate or make comment on the amendment bill had the opportunity to do so. When we called for written submissions, when we had oral submissions, and then when we went on a roadshow across the country in all 9 provinces. So at this juncture, unfortunately, you cannot allow for any other or further participation. And if one wants to do that, they are more than welcome to do it at the level of the NCOP. Now, remember, if you allow for one individual or organization, you then set a precedent which allows for anyone to then be able to make comments. And at this stage, we are following parliamentary processes, and all processes have been followed in terms of consultation. And the next stage is presenting it, and then it goes to the NCOP, and they would then be able to open for further consultation if the need arises.
And of course, your decision to, take off the cooling period part of the bill is also to avoid possible litigation?
Well, it's not so much of litigation. Like I said, we received presentations from all stakeholders, and in this case, the IEC is one of the main custodians. In fact, they run and implement elections. So the IEC's presentation was quite clear in that they're not going to be able to police or manage having to check whether Mr. Pillay belonged to a political party or not. And that, in fact, some members may not even divulge their political affiliation. And you have thousands of members, in fact, millions, for example, in the ANC. And you're not going to be able to go and check every single person or individual on whether they hold membership to a political party. And I think that was the basis of removing the cooling off period.
And another point of contention in the entire bill, of course, is the question around whether or not a candidate can register at a certain place but vote at a different area or municipality to where they are contesting for, etc. How far is the decision on that particular matter?
Now let me just outline that currently independent candidates are allowed to contest local government elections. And in the case of local government elections, an independent candidate only contests a ward and not a PR ballot for many reasons. So when you contest that space, the entire municipality becomes your constituency. In this instance, what we have said, and through discussions and deliberations, is that the entire country becomes the constituency because you are contesting the National Assembly. And for that reason, then an independent candidate may be allowed to contest in more than one region, seeing as you're going to be contesting the National Assembly. However, for the regional seat, which is a provincial legislature, on that ballot, to appear on that ballot, you would have to be registered to vote in that particular region or province contesting in that legislature. So for the National Assembly, yes, you could be registered anywhere in the country. But for the regional seat, which is your provincial legislature, it can only be one that is registered in that particular province.
All right. Thank you very much for the clarity, Mr. Brandon Pillay.